Imagine this: someone you care about suddenly goes silent. Your messages go unanswered, their presence fades, and a wave of panic washes over you. Your instinct screams to act, send another text, call, or do something to regain their attention. But what if that instinct is leading you straight into a trap? In this video, we dive deep into Carl Jung's profound insights to uncover why chasing someone who ignores you is the biggest mistake you can make, and how to reclaim your power by turning inward. This isn't just about relationships, it's about rewriting the story of your self-worth and unlocking a magnetic authenticity that transforms your life. Get ready to discover what you should never do when someone ignores you if you want them back, and why the real secret lies within you. 1. The trap of desperation: why chasing repels. When someone ignores you, the immediate urge is to fill the void with action. You might feel your heart race, your mind spiraling with questions: did I do something wrong? Why aren't they responding? This reaction stems from a primal fear of abandonment, a universal human experience that Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, linked to the unconscious patterns governing our psyche. Jung's work reveals that these moments of rejection trigger deep-seated wounds, often rooted in childhood experiences where we felt unseen or unworthy. The instinct to chase is not about love, it's about fear disguised as desire. When you act from this place, you project an energy of lack, signaling to the other person that your worth depends on their validation. This is the fatal mistake: by chasing, you hand over your emotional power, making yourself less attractive and reinforcing the very distance you're trying to close. Let's break this down. When you send that extra message or check their online status obsessively, you're not just seeking their attention, you're reinforcing a narrative that you're not enough without them. Jung's concept of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we repress, like insecurity or fear of rejection, comes into play here. When someone ignores you, it's not their silence that hurts most, it's the meaning you assign to it. You might think, I'm not worthy of their time, or I must prove myself. These thoughts are projections of your shadow, amplifying your insecurities. The other person's unconscious mind picks up on this energy of neediness, and instead of drawing them closer, it pushes them further away. This dynamic isn't about them, it's about the unresolved story within you. Consider this: how many times have you chased someone only to feel more rejected? The cycle is predictable because it's driven by an unconscious pattern. Jung taught that we repeat these patterns until we become aware of them. The more you pursue, the more you signal desperation, and the less likely the other person is to respond positively. This isn't because they're cruel or you're unworthy. It's because human connection thrives on balance, not dependency. When you act from fear, you disrupt that balance, creating a push-pull dynamic that rarely ends well. But here's where it gets interesting. The solution isn't to manipulate or play games, it's to shift your energy entirely. By stepping back and focusing on your own growth, you break the cycle of desperation. This isn't about pretending to be aloof, it's about genuinely reconnecting with your inner strength. When you stop chasing, you stop projecting lack. You begin to embody an energy that's grounded, authentic, and magnetic. This shift doesn't just change how others perceive you, it transforms how you see yourself. And that's where the real power lies. Let's reflect on a personal insight here. I've seen this pattern in my own life and in countless others. There was a time when I'd feel ignored and immediately try to fix it, texting more, overanalyzing every interaction, or even changing my behavior to seem more appealing. It never worked. The harder I tried, the more I felt like I was losing myself. It wasn't until I learned to pause, reflect, and focus on my own worth that things began to shift. Not only did I feel more at peace, but the people around me started responding differently. This isn't magic, it's psychology. When you radiate self-assurance, you become a magnet, not because you're trying to attract, but because you're whole. The key takeaway: chasing someone who ignores you amplifies your fears and diminishes your power. Instead of acting from desperation, take a step back. Observe what's happening within you. Are you seeking validation, or are you acting from a place of self-worth? This moment of pause is your first step toward breaking the cycle and reclaiming your emotional sovereignty. 2. The shadow within, facing your inner fears. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow is a game-changer when it comes to understanding why being ignored feels so painful. The shadow represents the parts of ourselves we hide, our insecurities, fears, and the traits we don't want the world to see. When someone ignores you, it's like a spotlight shines on this shadow, illuminating fears of rejection, abandonment, or unworthiness. These feelings aren't new, they're echoes of past experiences, often from childhood, where you might have felt invisible or unvalued. Jung believed that until we confront and integrate these shadow aspects, they control our reactions, trapping us in cycles of emotional dependency. Let's dive deeper. When you feel ignored, what's really happening? Your mind starts spinning stories: they don't care about me. I'm not important. These aren't just thoughts, they're the shadow speaking, projecting old wounds onto the present. Maybe you grew up in a household where love felt conditional, or perhaps a past relationship left you questioning your worth. These experiences embed a belief that you must earn attention to be valuable. When someone pulls away, that belief resurfaces, urging you to act, send that message, seek that validation. But Jung's wisdom tells us that acting from this place only deepens the wound. The real work begins when you stop running from the shadow and face it head-on. This means asking tough questions: why does their silence hurt so much? What part of me feels incomplete without their attention? These questions aren't easy, but they're transformative. They force you to confront the fear that you're not enough on your own. The truth is, the pain of being ignored isn't about the other person, it's about the relationship you have with yourself. If you rely on external validation to feel whole, you're giving away your power. Jung's process of individuation, becoming whole by integrating all parts of yourself, is the antidote. It's about building a foundation of self-worth that doesn't crumble when someone looks away. Here's a personal perspective. I've spent years working through my own shadow, and it's been a humbling journey. There was a moment in my life when a close friend stopped responding, and it sent me into a tailspin. I obsessed over what I'd done wrong, replaying every conversation in my head. It wasn't until I sat with those feelings, really sat with them, that I realized the pain wasn't about my friend. It was about a younger version of me who felt unseen by the people I needed most. By acknowledging that wound, I could start healing it. I stopped chasing my friend and focused on nurturing my own sense of self. The result? Not only did I feel stronger, but our relationship eventually healed, not because I forced it, but because I'd changed. This process isn't about ignoring your emotions or pretending you don't care. It's about feeling everything: anger, sadness, fear, without letting those emotions dictate your actions. Jung emphasized that the shadow isn't your enemy, it's a teacher. By listening to it, you uncover the roots of your pain and begin to heal. This might mean journaling about your feelings, meditating on your triggers, or even seeking therapy to explore deeper wounds. The goal is to integrate these hidden parts of yourself, so they no longer control your reactions. Practically, this looks like pausing before you act. The next time you feel ignored, resist the urge to text or call. Instead, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Write down your thoughts, no matter how messy they are. This simple act of self-reflection can shift your perspective, helping you see that the other person's silence isn't a verdict on your worth, it's just a moment in time. By choosing not to react from fear, you reclaim your power and start building a stronger, more authentic version of yourself. This inner work isn't just about healing, it's about transformation. When you face your shadow, you begin to radiate a quiet confidence that others can't help but notice. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being whole. And when you're whole, you don't need someone else to complete you. That's the kind of energy that draws people in, not because you're chasing them, but because you're grounded in your own worth. 3. The power of detachment, shifting the energy. Here's where things get fascinating. When you stop chasing and start focusing on yourself, something almost magical happens, the dynamic shifts. Jung called this psychic synchronization, the idea that when your internal state changes, the energy around you shifts too. When you let go of the need for someone's attention, you stop projecting desperation. This creates a ripple effect, altering how others perceive you. The person who once ignored you might suddenly notice your absence, not because you're manipulating them, but because you've stopped orbiting their world and started centering your own. Detachment doesn't mean giving up or shutting down emotionally. It's about releasing the need to control the outcome. When you chase someone, you're trying to force a connection, which rarely works. But when you detach, you're saying, my worth isn't tied to your response. This shift is powerful because it's authentic. You're not pretending to be indifferent, you're genuinely redirecting your energy toward your own growth. This might mean picking up a new hobby, reconnecting with friends, or diving into personal projects that light you up. The goal is to fill your life with meaning, so someone's silence no longer feels like a void. Let's get real for a moment. I've tried the chasing game, and it's exhausting. There was a time when I'd bend over backward to get someone's attention, thinking it would prove my worth. Spoiler, it didn't. The moment I started focusing on my own passions, writing, learning, building my confidence, everything changed. People who once seemed distant started reaching out, not because I tricked them, but because I was no longer clinging to their approval. This isn't about playing games, it's about living fully in your own truth. Jung's insight here is profound: when you stop needing validation, you become magnetic. This isn't about faking it or following some dating rule like, wait 3 days to text back. It's about cultivating inner solidity, a sense of self that doesn't waver based on someone else's actions. Practically, this might look like setting boundaries, like not responding immediately to every message or not rearranging your life to accommodate someone who's inconsistent. It's about prioritizing your peace over their presence. Consider this scenario: someone you're close to starts pulling away. Instead of bombarding them with messages, you take a step back. You focus on your goals, spend time with people who uplift you, and nurture your own happiness. Over time, you notice a shift, not just in how you feel, but in how others respond to you. The person who ignored you might reach out, curious about your absence. But here's the kicker. By this point, you might not even care as much. Why? Because you've built a life that doesn't revolve around them. This is the power of detachment. It frees you from dependency and opens the door to authentic connections. One caveat: detachment only works if it's genuine. If you're stepping back just to get a reaction, you're still trapped in the same cycle of neediness. The goal is to let go of the outcome entirely. Trust that by focusing on yourself, you're creating space for healthier relationships, whether with this person or someone new. This shift in energy isn't just about getting someone back, it's about becoming someone who doesn't need to chase anyone. For the return, navigating reconnection with strength. What happens when the person who ignored you comes back? This moment is a test of your growth. Their return might spark a mix of emotions: relief, excitement, or even unease. It's tempting to slip back into old patterns, seeking their approval or trying to fix what went wrong. But Jung's teachings remind us that true transformation lies in staying grounded in your newfound strength. This isn't about closing the door to reconciliation, it's about approaching it from a place of self-assurance, not desperation. When someone re-enters your life, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, am I reacting out of fear or confidence? Do I want this connection because it aligns with my values, or am I chasing old validation? These questions help you stay aligned with your growth. If you've done the inner work, faced your shadow, practiced detachment, you'll approach this moment with clarity. You won't need their presence to feel whole, which gives you the power to set healthy boundaries. Here's a personal reflection. I once had someone return after months of silence, and at first, I was thrilled. But as I reflected, I realized I didn't want to fall back into the same dynamic where my happiness depended on their attention. Instead of jumping back in, I took things slowly, prioritizing my own needs. The result was a healthier connection, not because I manipulated the situation, but because I was clear about my worth. Sometimes, the person won't align with your growth, and that's okay. Letting go of what doesn't serve you is a sign of strength, not failure. Jung's concept of individuation is key here. As you integrate your shadow and build inner solidity, you attract relationships that reflect your authenticity. The person who comes back might notice a change in you, a quiet confidence that wasn't there before. This can lead to a deeper, more balanced connection, but only if you stay true to your growth. If you revert to old patterns, you risk undoing your progress. Instead, use this moment to reinforce your boundaries and prioritize your peace. Practically, this might mean having an honest conversation about what you need in the relationship. It could mean taking things slowly or even walking away if the dynamic feels unhealthy. The goal isn't to win the person back, it's to build connections that honor your worth. By staying grounded, you create space for relationships that are mutual, respectful, and fulfilling. 5. Building authentic relationships, the long-term vision. The journey doesn't end when someone returns or when you move on. It's about building a life where your worth isn't tied to external validation. Jung's process of individuation is a lifelong path toward wholeness, where every experience, rejection, silence, or connection, becomes a teacher. By facing your shadow, practicing detachment, and prioritizing your growth, you create a foundation for authentic relationships that enrich your life. This process transforms how you interact with the world. Instead of reacting impulsively to silence or indifference, you respond with intention. You set boundaries that protect your energy and attract people who resonate with your authenticity. These relationships aren't built on dependency or fear, they're rooted in mutual respect and shared growth. You become a magnet for connections that uplift you, not because you're chasing, but because you're living fully in your truth. Let's zoom out. This journey isn't just about one person who ignored you, it's about rewriting the story of your life. Every time you choose self-worth over validation, you reinforce a powerful truth: you are enough. This certainty radiates outward, drawing in people who value you for who you are, not what you do for them. It's a ripple effect that extends beyond relationships, shaping how you approach challenges, pursue goals, and navigate the world. Here's a final reflection. I've learned that the moments that hurt most, rejection, silence, feeling unseen, are often the greatest catalysts for growth. They force you to look within, to confront the parts of yourself you've avoided, and to build a life that's yours, not defined by someone else. Jung's wisdom has taught me that true power lies in embracing every part of yourself, the light and the shadow. When you do, you don't just transform your relationships, you transform your entire existence. As you move forward, carry this truth: silence isn't a verdict on your worth, it's an invitation to reconnect with yourself. Every step you take toward inner balance is a step toward a life filled with authentic, meaningful connections. You don't need to chase anyone to be seen, you just need to see yourself. And when you do, the world can't help but notice. So, I invite you to take this journey. Share your thoughts in the comments, join this community of growth, and spread this message to those who need it. Subscribe and turn on notifications to keep exploring content that inspires you to look within and transform your life. Together, we can build a movement of self-awareness and empowerment, illuminating the path for those seeking deeper meaning in their relationships and themselves. Thank you for being here, and let's keep shining.